Is the music industry trying to Michael Jackson Beyonce? Is the music industry trying to Michael Jackson Beyonce? And I'm asking this question. This is going to be the topic of this pod. And of course, I'm going to discuss her entire album, Renaissance Act 1. This is the DJ Jerica podcast. If you guys are new, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I talk about entertainment news, world news, and gossip. Now, I just want to talk about Beyonce. All right. And this is the year for Beyonce, and she's been in the industry. I want to say about 25 years, But if you're really counting before she actually became famous, she's been in the industry over 30 years. She's been performing since she was a child, and Beyonce skyrocketed to fame in the girl group Destiny's Child, and from there she broke off and went solo in the early 2000s. And one of the biggest singles that she put out, after her first few singles were released, was Crazy in Love with her husband, Jay-Z. And of course, that went, skyrocketed her to the superstardom. That went number one. And Beyonce, it was just history from there. The rest is history. And Beyonce has had one of the most solid careers in the music industry. When Beyonce releases an album, that her fans are going to show up. What I will say about Beyonce fans, the Beehive, they're the most dedicated fan base I've ever seen for any artist. For the most part in the music industry, for a music artist, they usually have only a few years to perform. If they actually have a run, especially in the hip hop community or the urban community, you have a lot of R&B girls that have come and gone. And it's very rare for you to actually find a pop superstar that can last beyond even 10 years. We have girl groups like TLC who had a good 10-year run together, which is phenomenal in the industry. Usually, for most girls in the industry, the career doesn't last longer than a couple of years. After that single expires and people forget, it's just like whatever. And a lot of times when it comes to these record labels, they drop a lot of artists and stuff. But for Beyonce to have such a successful run, for Beyonce to basically have no albums flop for the most part in her career at all over the past 25 years, with her being not only in a girl group, but just being a solo artist, it's just phenomenal, just to say the least. Beyonce took a hiatus for a few years, and she came back with this brand new project, Renaissance Act 1. And this project, I listened to it multiple times. When it was released, I decided not to listen to the record when it was sent to me because someone leaked it, and I'm not going to, do the illegal process of making someone lose money. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a new artist or Beyonce, especially a black artist. I just can't see myself, bootlegging a project. So I actually waited until the project was released on Apple Music at 12 a.m., and it was the eve of my birthday. And I listened to the project, and I would say that the project is about a little bit over an hour long, and I was just highly impressed. This is a historic album for Beyonce. It's something that is totally different from what we're used to, and this is really obviously a project that is dedicated to house music. And house music is the music for the LGBT community, the Vogue community. And this new Vogue sound, which we would not say is new because it's old, but this old Vogue sound is starting to become new again because, of course, on social media you see the videos of the Vogue houses going viral, people dancing, doing their duck walk, doing their death drops, and just really just giving and showing. And it's just the perfect time for Beyonce to release this project because this is the time for it, and Beyonce released that project. She came up with the first single for the project, Break My Soul, and that featured Big Freedia. If you guys don't know who Big Freedia is, she is the queen of bounce, all right? She is LGBT, considered trans, but Big Freedia accepts all pronouns, he, she, but she is well known for her music, and Beyonce used Big Freedia as an inspiration on this project. Now, this is the first single that was released in June, and I believe it was the beginning of July or the end of June, Break My Soul came out. Everyone's just like waiting and waiting, and then she released that the project will be out July 29th. And this isn't typical of Beyonce because remember, years ago, I would say over almost a decade ago, Beyonce set the standard with this surprise release when she dropped her album project. One of her album projects was released and it was just dropped overnight and everyone's just like, oh shit, you know. And from there, music artists have attempted to try to copy Beyonce and they were not successful. And the reason why they weren't successful is because they don't have the fan base like Beyonce. Listen, make sure you guys keep listening because we're going to get there. I know there's probably people listening. They're probably just like, is this going to be a thing where I'm just celebrating Beyonce? Stick with me because I'm just going to talk about the ins and outs of the music industry and all the controversy surrounding Beyonce and how I personally feel like, you know, I feel like the music industry may be trying to humiliate Beyonce in some form or fashion, trying to make Beyonce break. And also just talk about how snaky the industry is and how dirty these people in the industry, when it comes to producers, executives, how they really screw over music artists like Khalees. I'm going to say this right now. I'm not the type of person who's going to sit here and worship another human being. I'm not that person. You know, I'm the type of person who can see both sides of every story. And I'm going to discuss that further. But back to Beyonce, right? Where did I leave off? Beyonce released her project, and I played it at midnight. And I heard the record spin. And it just felt like one big ballroom show. The thing about this particular project is that there's literally no skips. And when I say no skips, I'm not talking about, oh, the records, the songs. Oh, you can't skip a song. I'm talking about the blending. I mean, literally, the transitions is literally nightclub transitions. It's like in most albums, when you release it, when a song is ending, there's a fade out, you know, so you know that the song's about to end. On this project, there's no fade out. There's literally, and it perfectly jumps to the next song. So much so, you have Big Frida getting credits on 2 songs because they got Big Frida's voice at the end of one track going into the new track, which is Break My Soul. I love the project. But did I expect everybody to like the project? No. Why? Because Beyonce is more so, we have to categorize her. We do. She's a black artist. She's an urban artist, you know? And for the most part, although ballroom and house music is an actual black genre in itself, and it was found in Chicago, and the black ballroom scene, this is where house music really originated from and was founded. You know, for the most part, most black people don't care for that. They don't. And if you're talking about black women, we're so used to just listening to R&B music and depressive music, like, you know, from our icons that we have, you know, and just the current girls that's out there right now, like, I would say, depressive artists like Summer Walker, or y'all know who the girls are. You know, R&B girls. You know, we more so gravitate towards depression, destruction. People like Mary J. Blige, people like that. You know, that is the thing that, for the most part, black women are attracted to. And then when you're talking about black men, they like hardcore type music. They like hip hop. They like raunchy music. And, you know, the hit genre for most hip hop listeners, which is more urban black listeners, is drill music, which is hardcore rap music. And rap music has been hardcore since the end of the 80s. So when you really try to take this and dissect it, you'll further understand why there's so many people on Twitter and on Instagram and everywhere else saying that this album is trash. Because for the most part, black people are very closed-minded. They're not willing to accept an artist when they evolve. If it's not what they want, if it's not the depressive R&B music with the men being bashed and the women being bashed, or the women being overly sexualized in hip-hop music, or the men hip-hop artists or R&B singers being over-sexualized or being violent. This is something that black people and just R&B listeners, because I know it's not just black people listening to R&B, this is what they look forward to. So when you take away something that they look forward to, something that they're so used to processing, something so toxic that they love, they're going to say that Beyonce has changed. Beyonce album is garbage. They're going to say these things because they don't know any better. They don't know any better, and they choose not to want to learn. They choose not to have an open mind. They choose not to want to process anything else musically due to basically being brainwashed into thinking that the only music available for black people to listen to is hip hop and R&B. And then when you take into the consideration when it comes to house music being viewed as just pretty much a gay genre in the black community, and being gay in general, including the black community, especially people that's in the church, they see gayness as taboo. They're not going to want to support this project. You know, I'm seeing people in the story timelines. I'm seeing people in the comment sections on Twitter going back and forth saying that Beyonce is trying to take her fans to hell. I've never seen anything like this before when Beyonce's released a project. I really haven't. And it's just interesting to me that the moment that Beyonce decide to switch things up and completely change genres, and mind you, this isn't something new. This isn't something new that Beyonce is doing. You know, a lot of greats have made house music records or made house music albums or been interactive with house music, and, you know, the fans have supported it in some form or fashion, including Whitney Houston. There's a clip somewhere on the web of Whitney Houston talking about like how house music is that thing. And this is way back in the 90s. And really, for me, it's just history repeats itself. So, I mean, I don't know why everyone is so flustered at the fact that Beyonce is being what she is, which is an actual artist. I think we've placed this standard on Beyonce to just be what we want her to be. And the thing is since Beyonce is really the standard, she is a black woman, she's successful, she is a mom, she has 3 kids, she's married. Something that most black women want to be is married and have all of this and have this fantasy in their heads. She can't support the LGBTQ community. She can't be somebody who supports that culture, right? Because now she wants to take everybody to hell. Okay, I don't know where everybody's getting this from. This isn't the first time Beyonce has had raunchy music. You know, if you really listen to her catalog, Beyonce has cursed in her music. She's done a lot of stuff. And honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this project. To the ears, it's absolute perfection. And I would say that because, of course, myself, I'm a DJ. To hear the audio production, top quality. I mean, whoever did the engineering, like, you could just tell that they are seasoned and they know what they're doing. To hear the blends, the transitions, from beginning to end, there's no skips. And I really enjoy that about Beyonce. I really enjoy the fact that Beyonce is choosing to go into a different lane with her project. Now, see, a lot of people is upset with Beyonce, and they're like, oh, well, why don't she go this, this, and this? But Beyonce has always been a person who's evolved. And when it comes to her artistry, especially when she put out her previous project, the project where she was basically doing Afrobeat music on that project long before she came up with this album. So Beyonce has been very experimentative when it comes to her work. And I just feel like there's people that's upset due to the fact that Beyonce decided to acknowledge the black gay community outside of it just being the black community. It's like when Beyonce was just celebrating the black community, and although that album didn't do well that she put out for just the black community, everybody was excited about that. But when Beyonce decided to say, let's also acknowledge these people, the black gay community, now it's, oh, she's trying to take everybody to hell. Now it's this, now it's that. And it's just like, can we just stop? Can we really just stop? Can we just say what it is? Just go in the comment section and say what you really think. Say what it is. If you're going to say it out loud. And that's just what it is. What's Love from The Roots actually went out on social media and said that this album was just like 4.5 out of 5 stars and wrote a nice long paragraph complimenting Beyonce on this project. Now, before I even and he should have, but there was so many people in the comment section after he put that post up that people are just so pissed off, and they was just attacking Beyonce. And this leads to my subject and the topic at hand. You know, is Beyonce being Michael Jackson right now? Is it a thing where people do not want to see Beyonce retire without controversy? Is it a thing where people are jealous of Beyonce and they don't want to see her really go out as one of the greats in history? Now, we know that in this project, there's no allegedly to it that this project has hella samples. Okay, it has samples from a lot of well-known house music artists, you know, and if you look at the credits on there, Beyonce does credit people, but some of the people have stepped forward and said that Beyonce didn't call them allegedly and informed them that they were supposed to be sampled or a part of her project. Now, my personal perspective, do I feel like Beyonce should have contacted those people? Yes, she could have. Is it required for her to do so? No. But should she have contacted them? Possibly, yes. If it's not Beyonce, clearly Beyonce isn't going to call them directly. She probably would have an assistant call. But I would have preferred seeing her contact, you know, people like Khalees and, of course, Robin S. Because this isn't the first person. Khalees isn't the first person that complained about this project because Robin S. was actually notified via social media from her son that the song Break My Soul is the actual sample of her song, Show Me Love. And Beyonce, you know, end up sending her flowers after Robin S. went to, I believe it was a news TV show basically speaking about it. And Beyonce actually sent her flowers because she went on national news in UK speaking about the fact that Break My Soul was sampled. She didn't know that Beyonce sampled the song, but she took a different route. She was flattered. And I mean, I don't know. I believe Robin S. is actually credited on the song. I'm not sure if she actually owns the song, but you guys have to understand how the music business works. A lot of the fans out here, you guys don't understand how the music business works. And just because an artist sings a song does not mean they own the rights to the music, does not mean that they own the publishing or even the masters to the music. They're usually just the vessel to deliver the message from the messenger, which is the songwriter and the producer who takes the credit for the record. And depending on the type of deal that you have, you may not be able to even speak on behalf of the use of your music that you're featured on. And I believe that may have been the situation with a few of those artists that was featured or samples were featured on this project. Now, there's a lot of people that's upset about the fact that Beyonce decided to move the way that she allegedly moved with this project, but really, I feel like Beyonce made this project with a good heart. I don't think she decided to go in the studio and say, you know what, let me just rip all the girls off. I don't personally think that. I don't know her personally, but I don't think that's what she was trying to do. And also, I know that Beyonce is a very smart businesswoman. And sometimes when it comes to business, you can't be so, you know, perfect with it because business is business. It's the industry. Now, could some things change? Yeah, do I feel like things should change a little bit when it comes to communicating with artists, even if they don't own the record? Maybe it should be a situation where you reach out to them and let them know that, hey, you're going to be featured on a song just as a heads up for them to benefit in some form or fashion. Because really, I feel like if Beyonce really called the girls and told Robin S. or even called Khalees and said, hey, you guys are going to be featured on my project, you know, they could have prepared themselves for it. They could have really rode the wave, even though they weren't going to be compensated financially if they were not songwriters on the original project or actually properly credited on the original songs that they created back in the day. Do I think that Beyonce should have had her team or her publicist reach out to those people? Yes, I do believe so. But we also have to think about it in the perspective of the devil's advocate of the music industry and how things work when it comes to songwriters. Beyonce has been in the industry for 25 years. She knows this industry front to back. She didn't become the queen of the music industry because she's dumb. Beyonce followed all of the legalities that's needed in order for her to get these samples and be able to have them featured on her project. And I feel like a lot of the fans out here, you guys legitimately think Beyonce woke up in the morning and just said, you know, let's just steal all the girls' music. Who cares? I'm taking lawsuits. Beyonce is worth almost $400 million. Her husband is worth nearly $1 billion. Do you think she would, and she's also a mother of 3. Do you think Beyonce would purposely try to set herself up for a lawsuit? Really? Why would she do that when she has so much to lose? I'm pretty sure that Beyonce sat and calculated this and made sure. And you can literally go through her entire catalog and you can see that she credited every person that was sampled on her project. Every person, even if it was 24 writers on one song. Now, we're going to talk further about that because we have a legendary songwriter who actually worked with Beyonce who basically put out a statement on Twitter just trying to figure out like how is it possible to have 24 writers on one song. And this is a big problem for people out here because they're trying to figure out how is it possible for anybody to even get paid when you have that many people on one song, especially when it comes to samples. They must be getting paid pennies. Now, I don't feel like, Diane Warren is wrong for technically speaking about it, but I feel like the way that she approached it on social media may have been wrong because it just comes off as if she's trying to come after Beyonce because right now, this past week, it is popular to come after Beyonce. In this project because there's been so much controversy. Listen, you guys, let's just start. And I really just feel like, I don't know if Beyonce rubbed some people the wrong way in the industry or the higher ups are upset with her, but I legit feel like Beyonce is being Michael Jackson. And of course, she can't be fully Michael Jackson because, of course, she doesn't have allegations of, sexual assault or anything like that. Or, and Beyonce hasn't bushed her body to the point where people could just try to say that she's crazy or just try to make fun of her. But Beyonce is slightly being dethroned. And I feel like this is something that happens with every artist when they get to this 25-year, 30-year mark and they've been at the top of the industry the entire time and they still want to continue to produce music. All right? So let's just start from the beginning. Why I feel like they were trying to Michael Jackson, Beyonce, or just sabotage her career. First step, the leaked album, okay? The Renaissance was actually scheduled to come out on July 29th, which has been at midnight, which is July 28th, entering July 29th, which is at midnight, at the night, early morning. All right? On, I would say the 27th, there was buzz all over Twitter and all over social media that somebody actually leaked the album. Now, when they say leaked, they actually had solid copies of the album sold overseas in France. And there was a ton of fans that actually went into the stores and record stores and they had it already pre-released. Now, I don't know who was responsible for handling the release of the album. I would assume that Beyonce's record label, record company, if she's, of course, I'm pretty sure she's still signed to a record company. I believe she was last signed to Columbia Records. Whoever's in charge of that, they made a mistake with distribution. Now, was this done purposely? I don't know. Was it a simple mistake? It could have been, but this could have been a really bad thing for Beyonce because this would hurt her sales, especially when it comes down to streams, because all it would take is one person who may not like Beyonce or a fan that just doesn't care, just want people to hear it before it comes out, just leaking it, and she's lost thousands of downloads and thousands of album sales. And that was the first thing that I just was like, okay, all right, that's odd. Now, within those same 24 hours of the album leaking, someone reached out to the singer Khalees and told her that her voice and her song sample from her hit single Milkshake was featured on one of the songs on Beyonce album, which is, I believe, the single called Energy. Now, from there, Khalees actually had a little conversation because one of the fans alleged or assumed that this was a collaboration between Khalees and Beyonce. And Khalees came out and said, this is not a collaboration. This is like theft because I didn't, know anything about the situation. I didn't approve my vocals being featured on this project. And I just, I'm upset. Now, for most of you guys, that's just like, okay, how is that even possible for her to just allegedly take Khalees's voice and just throw it on her project and not call Khalees? I'm going to explain the logistics of music industry to you. All right. Khalees does not own her publishing. And I believe she don't own her masters when it comes to her records and the Neptunes, which is Pharrell and the guy Chad. That's the two guys in the Neptunes. Everybody knows who Pharrell is. But the other guy in the Neptunes, people pretty much, it's like he's more quieter of the two. Actually owns the rights to the song Milkshake and majority of Khalees's music when she first came out, because Khalees was actually Pharrell's artist and the Neptunes artist, and they produced basically her first few albums was fully produced by the Neptunes. And basically she got swindled. I'm gonna explain it to you. You guys could go on social media, but of course, Khalees was actually on Instagram and she explained it. But this is old news. All right, according to Khalees, she went into a verbal agreement with Pharrell and then Chad of the Neptunes, saying that how the money will be divided when it comes to songwriting credits will be 33, 33, 33. So basically, it would have been Pharrell taking 33%, Chad taking 33%, and Khalees taking 33% for her songwriting credits to make sure she was getting paid. Now, Khalees reportedly, she went on tour and she was like touring for the singer Britney Spears at the opening act. And then she realized after running through some paperwork that she was not being paid at all. And this is after Milkshake, which is one of her biggest records, actually was released. And she realized that, hey, these guys are ripping me off. And of course, Khalees realized this a bit too late. And she was living off of tour money from what my research was seeing. And, you know, she basically got ripped off. And all that music and money that she could have had over the past 20 years, because this is 2022. That song Milkshake came out in 2003. So she's missing out about 20 years of publishing if you're just talking about that hit single alone, and songwriting credits and money from that hit single alone. And you're not including her other records from Caught Out There and all those other records that she's had. All right. So she's been going through it. And of course, Khalees has been off the radar for a while because, you know, outside of her, you know, dropping her single Bossy in the project for that, after that, Khalees decided to just go ahead and do her own thing. Khalees is now a chef and she owns her own farm and she really be doing her own thing. Like, big ups to Khalees. She's really made a smooth transition out of the music industry. Some people don't want to be in the music industry. And this is what I will say for the people that's trying to bully Khalees, because the Beehive decided to go on Khalees' page because of what she said. And they were commenting because Khalees actually wrote it out that this wasn't a collaboration with Steph. Khalees decided to go on Instagram and basically explain to everybody the stuff that she's going through as a songwriter, just being ripped off by Pharrell, and basically trying to say that Pharrell allegedly did this as a dig at her, and called out, you know, the Neptunes in general for ripping her off and saying that, you know, Beyonce could have called her, you know, saying that if Beyonce was really about women empowerment and femininity and everything else that she claims, she could have called Khalees and let her know that, hey, I mean, I know you don't own the music, but I just want to give you a heads up that your song will be featured at the end of my song. Why is it that she's finding out? And this is before the project even came out. All of this is going on before they actually released the project. So Beyonce is dealing with, one, her album being leaked. Two, one of the people that's being featured on the project basically coming after her in a negative way due to the fact that whatever happened behind the scenes happened. But what I will say is legally, Beyonce did it the right way because she actually asked for approval from the actual owners of the song. Now, if we're talking about business-wise, it was correct. But if you're talking about morally, if we're just talking about regular average-ass folks, of course, the public is going to say, that's wrong. That's not okay. And, you know, whatever the situation may be, there's reports coming out now about that situation that Beyonce, as of today, allegedly has removed Khalees' sample off the end of Energy and completely changed it because there was a DJ that actually put out and showed the sample being used and how it was being used. And you can hear Khalees in the background saying la, 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 which is sample to My Milkshake, like la, 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 la. So it was her. And Beyonce actually gave her credit too. So there's not even a thing where we can say, oh, allegedly it was her voice. Beyonce gave her credit for a reason. And it wasn't because she likes Khalees. Like, it's like, you want to give her credit because you know that you used her song. But long story short, Khalees stepped up, you know, basically called out Beyonce's team, called out Pharrell and the Neptunes. She basically said she don't have any beef, really no beef with Beyonce, but her problem is like with Pharrell is that he keeps making digs at her or selling samples and stuff like that without her even getting a call or approval for it. Even if she's not getting paid for him, just having some type of respect in regards to what was done to her. Now, for me, I don't know what Khalees' financial situation is. I'm pretty sure that Pharrell has way more money than her. Taking it to court, I don't know if she would actually win the court case, but I just feel like at this point, Khalees should just take the whole situation to court. Just take it to court, you know? And when I'm talking about to court, I'm not talking about taking Beyonce to court. I'm talking about taking Pharrell and the Neptunes to court so she can get her proper division of songwriting credits and rights. Because according to Khalees wrote all the songs Pharrell was just a producer. So if Pharrell didn't write none of those songs, that's kind of like, that's stealing, allegedly. So I hope that Khalees gets a good lawyer and she's able to get all her music and her money back. But let's get back to Beyonce, because this is the main focus of this project. I meant this particular podcast. Not say project, podcast. So outside of that, we got more drama going on with the release of this project. All right. Beyonce eventually releases her project, Renaissance Act 1. The fans love it. It's everywhere on social media. People are downloading it. It looks as if her project is scheduled to go number 1 this week. I don't know if they dropped it yet on Billboard or what, but it looks like her album will be number 1. Beyonce actually came out to social media and she thanked the fans that was out there that tried to protect her and her project when her album was leaked. And, you know, this is the only time Beyonce actually came out and made a statement speaking on some type of controversy. Now, this is less than a day after Khalees actually came out claiming that Beyonce stole the record. Now, Beyonce has moved forward, like I said before, has removed Khalees off of the song Energy, and also the songwriter credit was allegedly removed. Now, this story is coming from a couple of news outlets, but if you're on Apple listening to the song or Spotify, the changes have not been updated, but they're saying on Tidal there was a change made, and Beyonce has updated. Beyonce actually made a statement, and she basically was trying to thank her fans for still, you know, supporting her and getting her through this tough time. I just feel like this has been a rough time for Beyonce with her releasing her project. I just don't feel like it is a coincidence that so many people are coming together collectively to drag Beyonce down and her artistry down. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I don't know Beyonce personally. I don't know if she rubbed some people the wrong way. I don't know, but it just seems very odd that it's like a ton of people coming, speaking out against Beyonce. And then we have this letter that she wrote, and I'm going to read it. Okay, and this is what she said about the leaked album and her album being released early. So the album leaked, and you all actually waited until the proper release time so you all can enjoy it together. I've never seen anything like it. I can't thank y'all enough for your love and protection. I appreciate you for calling out anyone that was trying to sneak into the club early. It means the world to me. Thank you for your unwavering support. Thank you for being patient. We are going to take our time and enjoy the music. I will continue to give you my all and do my best to bring you joy. I love you deep. And that was what Beyonce put out in regards to the album leaking. Now, people are shocked because usually Beyonce doesn't speak on anything. But you know what? I'm glad to see that Beyonce is actually speaking to her fans and she's being more vocal. And she's been more vocal this past cycle when it comes to an era, when it comes to her career. Diane Warren, I don't know if I mispronounced her name the first time. I apologize, but her name is Diane Warren. She's actually a songwriter, and of course, she's known for her hit singles. She actually wrote several songs for several artists, including TLC. If you're in the urban world, she wrote for TLC. She worked for, of course, Beyonce. She worked for Toni Braxton before. She's worked with Celine Dion. She is a hit maker. All right. And she went on Twitter and she basically said, how can there be 24 writers on a song? And then that's when the Beehive basically went after her because clearly, you know, they were aware that she was allegedly talking about Beyonce. Because if you go to the credits on Beyonce's project, there's a lot of people listed as songwriters on this new project on each song. OK, because there's a ton of samples. So people start going in, which is the Beehive. Of course, they start going after her. And she said it isn't meant as shade. I'm just curious. Now, the Dream got wind of this, and he basically went after her, and he said, you mean, how does our black culture have so many writers? Well, it started because we couldn't afford certain things starting out, so we started sampling, and it became an art form, a major part of black culture, hip-hop in America. Had that era not happened, who knows, you good? So then they basically... You know, they went back and forth on Twitter, and this led to Diane Warren coming out and apologizing, basically saying that she wasn't coming for Beyonce because the Beehive went crazy, and they basically attacked this lady. Now, this leads to me wanting to decipher that particular subject. Do I feel like Diane's comment was necessary? No. I mean... She could have said it, and I'm not saying that she should just be quiet because it's Beyonce, But I just feel like it's just so interesting that so many people are stepping out against Beyonce out of nowhere when it comes to this new project. And it's just like, okay, what did she do to everybody? Like, did Beyonce do something behind the scenes that we don't know about? Like, why is there so many people that's coming after her saying, F this project? Like, girl, like, why is there so many writers on your song? But if we really decipher what Diane Warren is saying, it is a thing where you wonder, like, how are these people being paid? Because to have 24 people on one song and for them to be taking a percentage of even maybe 1% of that, it's not that much money that's going to be made when it comes to the residual checks. Even though it is royalties, continuous royalties for the rest of their life if they're sampled. I would assume that's what Beyonce is doing, seeing that she's credited everybody and credited everybody that she has featured on her album. It is questionable, how is everybody getting paid? Because, when it comes to songwriters, back in the day, you would know a song and be able to pinpoint that one songwriter. Like when there's certain songs that's out, like with Babyface, that Babyface just wrote that song by himself. It might have been other producers that helped to put the music together, but for the most part, you're going to be able to say, okay, this is a writer. Now, on this particular Beyonce project, you can't really do that. And the reason why is because there's so many samples. But I do want to know how are the people really getting paid, but I also want to say, in the grand scheme of things, Beyonce has really helped a lot of people make a bag. There's a ton of people, particularly part of the LGBTQ community, that's eating well because of Beyonce deciding to sample and work with them. One being T.S. Madison, another one being Sid from the internet. Of course, we have another trans DJ as well. Her name is Honey. I'm sorry about the last name, but Honey. She was also featured on there. Of course, Big Frida. There's been a lot of musicians who's been benefiting and getting some checks from Beyonce. So I feel like, a lot of people's coming after her and basically trying to be upset with the fact that she had 24 writers. But it's just like, well, I mean, they might not be getting much money, but at least she actually crediting people. At least she's not stealing. At least she's actually trying to show that she appreciated the people who inspired her to want to make a project. You know what I mean? But and the reason why I said that, is it like they're trying to Michael Jackson, Beyonce, is because if you really follow the history and the life story of Michael Jackson was one of the most beloved entertainers during his time. And of course, he started off as a child star. And Beyonce started off, and she was technically a child star, a teen star. And, with Michael Jackson, he was with the Jackson 5. Of course, he started off in a music group. Beyonce started off in a music group. Although she didn't start off in a music group with her siblings, she started off in a music group. Michael Jackson was managed by his father. Beyonce was managed by her father. There's a lot of comparisons between the two. And, of course, when it comes down to their signature dance style, when it comes down to their signature voice and their sound, and the fact that both has made significant thrives when it comes to building their fan base overall. There's a lot of comparison, especially when it comes to dance and stage performance between the two. A lot of people want to say that Beyonce is our Michael Jackson of our generation, which, can be right, of course, but nothing will top the king of pop. But I'm just saying, the reason why I'm doing this comparison is because when I say that they're trying to Michael Jackson, Beyonce, I mean that in the grand scheme of things, we talk about the heights of artists' careers and stuff, right? Michael Jackson, people loved him when he was a kid. He was a cute little brother with a strong voice. Everybody wanted to support him. He was touring. He was breaking records. He was doing all these things on Motown. Then, of course, Michael Jackson came out with his first solo song, Ben. Fast forward, Michael Jackson is about 20, in his early 20s, and he drops the album Off the Wall. That makes a lot of buzz for Michael Jackson, but he's yet to fully cross over the way that he wanted to in the pop world. And then he drops his album, Thriller. And the whole world just loves him. The whole world falls in love with him when he does the moonwalk on Motown 25. And from there, it was pandemonium. Everybody wanted to be Michael Jackson in the 80s. But by this time, in the early 90s, Michael Jackson had been in the industry for over 25 years. And that's when the bullshit started. That's when the bullshit started. That's when all of a sudden there's allegations coming out saying that Michael Jackson was touching little boys. Then you have the thing where, of course, he's got plastic surgery. And people are just basically trying to say that He doesn't like being black. It's just been so many different stories been put out about Michael Jackson on a consistent basis. And they basically dethroned Michael Jackson before he died. Michael Jackson was considered, was just fully being disrespected for the last decade and a half of his life and his career. People just sat there and just tried to attack him at any angle that they could and embarrass him and shame him. Even more so to the point where he actually had to go to court only a few years before he actually died. And people saying that he was a child molester with no actual proof. And he was found not guilty on those charges. And not trying to say that that's the same thing Beyonce is going through. But Beyonce is going through the cycle in her life where people are trying to dethrone her and trying to belittle her artistry. And that's a big problem. I feel like people aren't acknowledging that because Beyonce is a black female. So they don't really see that, But if it was another black male artist that this was happening to, they would definitely call it out. Because I just feel like everyone at this point, they just want to attack Beyonce. And, the people that's jealous and have been jealous of Beyonce, they're showing their face. And I think Beyonce is going through an awakening maybe. Don't know what, she's a human. Don't know what she's actually going through. I know she's probably going through a lot with the release of the album, but to see so many people attacking Beyonce and trying to make it seem as if she's just, a terrible person or just trying to leak her album and try to ruin her return to her fan base and to music, it's just interesting. But this is what happens in the music industry. It's like when you are a pop superstar and you make it so far in life and you make it almost 25 years unscathed, they're always trying to figure out a way to tear you down. But the one thing I can say about Beyonce fans is they're not going to let them do what they did to Michael Jackson to her. They're not about to let her be dethroned and, whatever. They're going to keep supporting her. Her real fans are going to keep supporting her. But, that was just like my final thought in regards to that. Because I was just sitting there thinking like, damn, like, why do they do that to all of the artists? Like, why do they want to dethrone an artist? Like, why can't an artist have a full career without basically being dethroned or, having their reputation tarnished or, stuff like that? Like, it's just insane to me, especially somebody like Beyonce, because Beyonce don't even talk. Beyonce is mute. Like, she don't even speak like that. She don't speak. She actually speaks with her actions. Like Beyonce removed Khalees as a songwriter off the song that she originally featured her and removed her sample, Now, did Beyonce do that because she understood that Khalees was distressed about it? Maybe. Was it Beyonce coming at Khalees? Maybe. I don't know. But it was done. And Beyonce didn't even have to speak a word about it, So, yeah. That's the reason, one of the top main reasons why I just feel like it's just, is this a conspiracy to ruin Beyonce's career? Outside of that, I'm going to wrap up my pod. Share your thoughts about this and this entire podcast in regards to Beyonce and her new album. Do you guys believe that they're trying to Michael Jackson Beyonce? Share your thoughts. I just feel like they are. I feel like they're just trying to dethrone her and move her off her pedestal. Share your thoughts. Follow me right now on all social media at the DJ Jericho Podcast, at DJ Jericho, or at DJ Jericho Pod. Go to my website, djjericopod.com. You can download this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and much, much more, and also YouTube. I am DJ Jericho. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Y'all be safe out here. Goodbye.